At her lowest point, she discovered she was expecting, alone, overwhelmed by the weight of her circumstances. Maya learns that the child she carries is the result of a brief but intense encounter with Adrian Blackwell, the enigmatic billionaire CEO who had unknowingly walked away with her heart. As she grapples with the challenges of impending motherhood, fate draws them together once more. But this time, both must confront the secrets, fears, and hopes that reality has forced them to face. He has no idea he's about to embark on a journey that could change everything. This is a poignant love story filled with unexpected twists, emotional growth, and the struggle to find connection amid chaos. If you believe that love can blossom even in the most trying of times, you won't want to miss this one. In this story, a woman's fight for her future and her child, a billionaire CEO facing the consequences of his past, a hidden pregnancy that binds them together, a tale of resilience, love, and the courage to embrace the unknown. Adrian Blackwell navigated the sleek corridors of his towering office, the city sprawling beneath him like a vast chessboard waiting for his next move. At 42, he was the embodiment of success, sharp suits tailored to perfection, a reputation carved from ruthless business deals, and a solitary lifestyle that suited him fine. His empire spanned continents, his decisions dictating the rise and fall of industries. Yet beneath the polished surface, an undeniable loneliness lingered, carefully masked by cold efficiency. In stark contrast, miles away in a cramped, dimly lit studio apartment, Maya leaned over a battered easel, fingers stained with acrylic paint. She was a struggling artist, her life a kaleidoscope of half-finished canvases and endless part-time jobs. Each brushstroke was a desperate attempt to capture a world vastly different from her own, one filled with color and possibility, far removed from the gray uncertainty that shadowed her every step. At 27, Maya was accustomed to the unpredictability of her existence, juggling shifts at a cafe and sporadic gallery showings, all while battling the gnawing fear of eviction. Their worlds were poles apart, a chasm defined by privilege and hardship, ambition and survival. Adrian's realm was one of gleaming skyscrapers and boardrooms where decisions were measured in millions, while Maya's was the chaotic heartbeat of the city's underground art scene, where dreams often withered before they could bloom. Yet fate, with its inexplicable whimsy, was poised to bring these two lives briefly into the same orbit. That morning, Adrian's routine was as precise as ever. He reviewed quarterly reports over a meticulously brewed espresso, his gaze sharp and unyielding. His office overlooked the financial district, a concrete jungle where power was currency and trust was currency even rarer. Despite the constant buzz around him, Adrian moved like a solitary predator, always alert, always calculating. Success had come at the cost of intimacy, and he had accepted that trade without hesitation, until now. Meanwhile, Maya's day had begun in far less hopeful circumstances. The eviction notice pinned to her apartment door was a stark reminder of how precarious her situation had become. The landlord's stern voice echoed in her mind as she packed the last of her belongings into worn boxes. Her art supplies, tattered sketchbooks, and a few cherished paintings were the only remnants of a life she fought to hold on to. Homelessness loomed, a shadow darkening her already tenuous future. Seeking refuge from the cold, Maya found herself wandering into a downtown cafe, a sanctuary of warmth and fleeting comfort. The cafe was alive with the hum of low conversations and the rich aroma of freshly ground coffee. She claimed a corner table, pulling her threadbare jacket tighter around her shoulders. The weight of uncertainty pressed on her chest, but for a moment, the world outside seemed to pause. At a nearby table, Adrian sat alone, his attention momentarily diverted from his phone to the woman, who looked like she might disappear into the shadows if anyone dared to look too long. Something about her vulnerability caught his eye, a stark contrast to the polished figures that usually filled his view. He watched as she absent-mindedly traced patterns on the worn wood of the table, her eyes distant yet searching. In that quiet moment, the invisible walls Adrian had built around himself wavered. He reached out, ordering her a warm drink from the waiter with a nod, his voice low but sincere. Maya looked up, surprised by the gesture, her eyes meeting his with a flicker of gratitude and disbelief. Neither spoke, but the unspoken exchange was charged with an unexpected warmth. As the day wore on, their paths briefly intersected again outside the cafe, where the city's pulse quickened with the approach of evening. Adrian, intrigued despite himself, lingered just long enough to offer a word of encouragement to Maya, a rare kindness that felt foreign yet oddly necessary. She responded with a tentative smile, a fragile connection forming between two strangers from vastly different worlds. That night, beneath the glow of streetlights and the distant hum of traffic, their worlds collided in a way neither could have foreseen. It was not a meeting born of circumstance, but one shaped by a shared, unspoken loneliness and the fleeting hope of something beyond the confines of their respective lives. In the quiet intimacy of that night, Adrian and Maya found a brief sanctuary from the isolation that defined them both. Adrian, usually guarded and in control, allowed himself a moment of vulnerability. The walls he had so carefully erected around his heart began to crack, revealing a man who longed for connection despite the armor of success. Maya, in turn, glimpsed beyond the facade of the billionaire CEO and saw a man burdened by the same yearning that haunted her own nights. Their encounter was charged with an electric tension, a collision of two worlds that neither had anticipated. It was a night where the stark contrasts of their lives blurred, where wealth and struggle gave way to something raw and real. The city around them faded into a distant murmur as they shared a space that defied the boundaries imposed by society and circumstance. In the quiet aftermath, as dawn edged over the horizon, both Adrian and Maya retreated into their separate lives, carrying with them the weight of a night that had shifted something fundamental within each of them. Adrian returned to his empire, the relentless demands of business awaiting his command, while Maya faced the uncertain morning with a new, fragile hope stirring in her chest. Neither could have predicted how that fleeting moment, born of chance and quiet desperation, would ripple through their lives in the days to come. Yet beneath the surface of their disparate existences, an undeniable connection had been forged, one that would challenge their assumptions, disrupt their routines, and set in motion a journey neither was prepared for but both were inescapably drawn toward. The days following their brief encounter unfolded like a fragile thread stretched taut between two worlds, each fraying edge threatening to snap under the weight of reality. Maya found herself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Hope mingled with despair, uncertainty tangled with a flicker of something dangerously close to possibility. The taste of kindness Adrian had offered lingered, a small beacon in the otherwise bleak landscape of her life. Her routines, once mechanical and resigned, now held a subtle undercurrent of anticipation. The cafe where they had met became a silent witness to her thoughts, its worn tables and soft lighting a refuge from the chaos outside. Yet, beneath the surface, the practicalities of her existence pressed relentlessly. The eviction notice still hung in her apartment, a cruel reminder that security was a luxury she could no longer afford. Bills piled up, and the relentless struggle to keep her art alive seemed more daunting than ever. One cold afternoon, as rain streaked the cafe windows and the city blurred into a watercolored haze, Maya sat nursing a lukewarm coffee when a familiar figure entered. Adrian, dressed in a tailored coat that marked him out from the crowd, paused at the entrance, scanning the room with a look that was more curious than commanding. Their eyes met, and in that instant, the world outside seemed to hold its breath. He approached cautiously, as if stepping into a space that was not his own, yet drawn by an unspoken connection neither fully understood. "Maya," he said softly, the name tasting foreign yet fitting on his tongue. She nodded, a nervous smile breaking through her guarded exterior. Their conversation began tentatively, words exchanged like fragile gifts, each hesitant to reveal too much, yet both yearning to bridge the vast divide between them. Adrian's baritone voice softened as he listened to Maya speak of her art, her dreams, and the relentless hardships shadowing her every step. She, in turn, glimpsed behind the veneer of the billionaire CEO, sensing a loneliness that mirrored her own. As the hours slipped by, the boundaries between their worlds blurred. The city's relentless pace faded into a quiet cocoon, where two disparate souls found solace in shared vulnerability. Adrian, accustomed to commanding rooms and sealing deals with ruthless efficiency, found himself captivated by Maya's resilience and raw honesty. Maya, who had long resigned herself to anonymity, felt seen in a way that unsettled and comforted her simultaneously. That night, propelled by a mixture of impulse and unspoken need, their tentative connection deepened. They slipped away from the city's prying eyes into the shelter of an unassuming apartment, Maya's temporary sanctuary. The air was thick with unsaid words and fragile hopes as they surrendered to the moment, a collision of longing and loneliness that defied logic and circumstance. Their shared night was a fragile dance between passion and vulnerability, a fleeting escape from the harsh realities that awaited them come dawn. For Adrian, it was a rare breach in his fortress of control, a moment where the relentless armor of success gave way to something more human. For Maya, it was a brief reprieve from the ceaseless struggle, a reminder that connection could exist beyond the walls of hardship. But as the first light crept through the window, reality seeped back in with unforgiving clarity. The warmth of the night was replaced by the cold uncertainty of the future, a future neither dared to envision fully. They parted with a tentative promise, unspoken yet understood, that this night, though transient, had altered the course of their lives in ways neither could yet name. In the days that followed, Maya grappled with the weight of what had transpired. The memory of Adrian's kindness and the unexpected tenderness of their night together became a secret she carried quietly, a fragile ember amid the storm of her circumstances. Yet beneath the surface, a burgeoning fear took root, the fear of what might come next, and whether their worlds could ever truly intersect beyond stolen moments. Adrian, too, found himself unsettled. The encounter lingered in his thoughts, a persistent echo amid the cacophony of boardroom battles and strategic conquests. His carefully ordered life, once a fortress against vulnerability, now felt precariously exposed. He questioned the rigid boundaries he had drawn around himself, wondering if the elusive connection he had glimpsed with Maya might be something worth pursuing. Yet, the gulf between them was vast, defined not only by wealth and status but by the unspoken rules of their separate lives. Adrian's world was one of polished facades and relentless scrutiny, where personal entanglements often became liabilities. Maya's was a fragile tapestry woven from resilience and sacrifice, where trust was a precious commodity rarely afforded. As the city moved on, unaware of the quiet upheaval beneath its surface, both Adrian and Maya found themselves standing at a crossroads. The chance encounter that had sparked between them was no longer a mere flicker, but a flame threatening to ignite a blaze that could consume everything they had known. In the midst of this unfolding tension, Maya's life took an unexpected turn. The nausea that had been dismissed as fatigue grew insistent, a physical reminder that her body was changing in ways she had neither anticipated nor prepared for. Alone in her small apartment, she grappled with the dawning realization that she might be pregnant. The revelation threw her into a tempest of conflicting emotions: fear, hope, and a profound uncertainty about the future. The precariousness of her situation was now underscored by the presence of a life growing within her, a life that tethered her to a path she had not chosen but could no longer ignore. Maya wrestled with the decision of whether to tell Adrian. The thought of confronting the man who had entered her life so briefly, yet so indelibly, filled her with apprehension. Would he accept this unforeseen consequence of their night together, or would he retreat behind the walls of his empire, leaving her to face the storm alone? Meanwhile, Adrian remained oblivious to the shift unfolding in Maya's life. Immersed in the relentless demands of his business empire, he navigated a world where appearances were everything and personal vulnerability was a risk few could afford. Yet beneath the surface, the encounter with Maya had unsettled him more than he cared to admit, planting seeds of doubt about the solitary path he had chosen. Their lives, though still separate, were now irrevocably intertwined by a secret that held the power to redefine everything they thought they knew about themselves and each other. The fragile connection born from a moment of kindness and desperation was about to face its greatest test, forcing both Adrian and Maya to confront realities that neither had anticipated but neither could escape. As Maya sat alone in the quiet of her apartment, contemplating the uncertain road ahead, and Adrian stood amidst the gleaming towers of his empire, the city around them hummed with indifferent energy. Between their disparate worlds, A story was beginning to unfold, one marked by vulnerability, courage, and the fragile hope that sometimes, even the most unlikely connections could change the course of a lifetime. Weeks passed in a haze of quiet turmoil as Maya wrestled with the truth growing inside her. The initial shock of the pregnancy had given way to a complex web of emotions. Fear, hope, uncertainty, all tangled together in a fragile dance that left her breathless. Each morning, as sunlight filtered through the threadbare curtains of her small apartment, she confronted the reality that her life was no longer entirely her own. Her art, once a refuge and a voice, now felt distant, shadowed by the enormity of the secret she carried. The once familiar routines of juggling shifts and sketching in stolen moments were replaced by restless nights and anxious days. The eviction notice still sat folded on the kitchen counter, a persistent reminder that stability was a luxury slipping further beyond her reach. Maya's thoughts circled endlessly around one question. How could she possibly tell Adrian, the man whose world was so far removed from hers? A titan of industry, untouchable and commanding, was now irrevocably linked to her by this secret. She imagined his reaction, the stoic facade cracking under the weight of responsibility, or worse, complete denial. The fear of rejection gnawed at her, threatening to silence the fragile hope she clung to. Despite her turmoil, Maya sought solace in the few allies she trusted. A close friend from the art community who had become her confidant, and a compassionate doctor who offered more than just medical advice. Their support was a lifeline, a reminder that she was not alone, even as her world felt like it was unraveling. Meanwhile, Adrian continued his relentless pursuit of success, unaware of the life that was quietly taking shape beyond the walls of his empire. His days were filled with back-to-back meetings, high-stakes negotiations, and the constant pressure to maintain the image of an unflappable leader. Yet beneath his polished exterior, a subtle restlessness had taken root. The memory of Maya's kindness, her resilience, and the unexpected vulnerability she had revealed haunted his thoughts more often than he admitted. Adrian's world was one where appearances were everything. A private man by nature, he guarded his personal life with the same ferocity he applied to his business dealings. The notion of an unexpected pregnancy, particularly with someone whose life was worlds apart, threatened to disrupt the carefully constructed narrative he presented to the world. The risk was not just personal but professional. A scandal could unravel years of hard-won respect and power. As the weeks stretched on, the invisible threads connecting Maya and Adrian tightened, though neither dared to acknowledge them openly. Maya's internal battle reached a tipping point one evening when, after a restless night plagued by nausea and doubt, she made a decision. The weight of silence was unbearable. She needed to confront the truth, no matter the cost. Summoning every ounce of courage, Maya reached out to Adrian. The message was simple, yet charged with the gravity of what she was about to reveal. The response was swift but measured, reflecting the man who thrived on control even when faced with the unexpected. They agreed to meet, a confrontation looming on the horizon, heavy with unspoken fears and fragile hopes. The day arrived with a sky smeared in gray, the city cloaked in a restless tension that mirrored their own. Adrian waited in the minimalist conference room of his corporate headquarters, the sterile environment a stark contrast to the emotional storm brewing within him. When Maya entered, her presence seemed almost fragile against the backdrop of glass and steel, yet her eyes held a determined fire. The conversation began cautiously, words chosen with care, each syllable carrying the weight of their shared history and the unknown future. Maya spoke first, her voice steady despite the tremor beneath. She revealed her pregnancy, the life growing inside her a symbol of their night together and the irrevocable bond it had forged. Adrian's initial reaction was a complex blend of disbelief, shock, and something deeper, a dawning sense of responsibility that unsettled the foundations of his carefully ordered existence. His mind raced through scenarios, consequences, and the delicate balance of public perception he had always maintained. Yet beneath the surface, an unexpected tenderness emerged, a flicker of something genuine amid the turmoil. The room seemed to shrink as they faced the reality that would redefine everything. Questions hung in the air, about the future, about choices, about the possibility of a life neither had planned but both were now inextricably linked to. The stark differences in their social standings loomed, threatening to widen the chasm between them just as the pregnancy demanded unity. Maya, sensing the fragility of the moment, pressed for honesty and clarity. She laid bare her fears and hopes, demanding acknowledgement not just of the child she carried but of the shared responsibility that came with it. Adrian, grappling with the collision of his public persona and private emotions, struggled to reconcile the man he was with the man he might need to become. Their dialogue was raw and unfiltered, a rare glimpse behind the facades each wore so carefully. Adrian's usual command softened into vulnerability, and Maya's guarded strength revealed cracks of hope. They spoke of the future in uncertain terms, aware that every decision would ripple beyond their personal lives into the realms of family, society, and business. Outside the walls of the conference room, the city carried on, indifferent to the seismic shift unfolding within. For Adrian, the revelation threatened not only his reputation but the very identity he had forged through years of relentless ambition. For Maya, it was a turning point, a moment where fear and courage collided, forcing her to confront the unknown with a resolve she had never summoned before. As the meeting drew to a close, there was no neat resolution, no immediate answers. Instead, there was a fragile understanding, a recognition that their lives were now intertwined in ways that defied logic and expectation. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, marked by challenges neither had anticipated but both would have to face. Maya left the building with a mixture of relief and apprehension, the weight of the secret now shared lifting even as new questions took its place. Adrian remained behind, staring out over the cityscape he had conquered, his mind racing with possibilities and fears. The revelation of the pregnancy had shattered the illusion of control he had so meticulously maintained, leaving him exposed yet strangely alive. In the days that followed, the ripple effects of their confrontation began to surface. Adrian's closest advisors noticed a subtle shift in his demeanor, moments of distraction, a softness in his gaze that contrasted sharply with his usual steel. Maya, too, navigated a new reality, balancing the fragile hope that had taken root with the practical challenges looming ahead. Their worlds, once separate and defined, now orbited a shared center, a secret that demanded reckoning, a future that required courage. The narrative of their lives had irrevocably changed, and neither could deny the profound impact of that night, the life it had created, and the uncertain journey they were now compelled to undertake together. Adrian Blackwell sat alone in his glass-walled office, the city lights flickering beneath him like distant stars, indifferent to the turmoil within. The revelation of Maya's pregnancy had unsettled him in ways he hadn't anticipated. For years, control had been his currency, over his business empire, his public image, even his emotions. Yet now, a life growing beyond his grasp challenged every fortress he had built around himself. His mind raced through scenarios, rehearsing conversations he might have with his board, his family, the media. But beneath the strategic calculations was a gnawing unease, an unfamiliar vulnerability that both frightened and intrigued him. The man he projected to the world was one of unshakable strength. The man he felt inside was raw, uncertain, longing for connection. In the silence of his office, Adrian grappled with this duality. He thought of Maya, not just as the woman whose presence had briefly disrupted his ordered life, but as someone enduring her own storm. Her resilience haunted him, a stark contrast to the polished facades he navigated daily. He realized that beneath their disparate worlds lay shared threads: loneliness, hope, and a desire to be seen. Meanwhile, across the city, Maya wrestled with her own tempest of emotions. The initial shock of pregnancy had evolved into a complex dance of fear, shame, and cautious optimism. She often found herself staring at the blank canvas in her studio, the vibrant colors muted by doubt. Her art, once a source of solace, now felt overshadowed by the weight of impending responsibility. Maya's nights were restless, haunted by visions of what the future might hold. Would Adrian accept this child? Would society judge her harshly for the choice she had made? The precariousness of her life, marked by financial instability and the looming threat of eviction, made the path ahead seem almost impossible. Yet, amid the uncertainty, Maya found moments of unexpected strength. Conversations with her closest friends and the quiet support of a compassionate doctor became lifelines. They reminded her that she was not alone, that courage often blossomed in the most unlikely places. Unbeknownst to each other, Adrian and Maya orbited the same silent questions. Adrian wrestled with the tension between his public persona and private desires, while Maya confronted the fear of rejection and the hope for acceptance. Both felt the invisible threads pulling them toward a reckoning neither was fully prepared to face. Adrian's days became a study in contrasts. In boardrooms and high-stakes meetings, he maintained his signature composure, commanding respect with every word. Yet, in quieter moments, he found himself haunted by thoughts of Maya and the life they had unknowingly created. The loneliness that had long been his companion now felt heavier, more acute. He began to question the choices that had shaped his solitary existence. Was success worth the isolation? Could he allow himself the vulnerability of connection without jeopardizing everything he had built? These questions lingered, unanswered but persistent. Maya, too, experienced a shift. The fear that once paralyzed her slowly gave way to determination. She started to envision a future where she could embrace both her art and the child growing inside her. The idea of motherhood, once daunting, began to take shape as a source of strength rather than limitation. Yet, the gulf between their worlds remained vast. Adrian's empire was a fortress of power and expectation, while Maya's life was a tapestry of struggle and resilience. Bridging the divide required more than chance encounters. It demanded honesty, trust, and a willingness to confront fears long buried. Their paths crossed again one evening at a charity gala, an event where Adrian's presence was expected, and Maya's was a tentative step into a world foreign to her. The room was awash with glittering lights and murmurs of influence, a stage where appearances were carefully curated. Adrian spotted her across the room, her presence understated yet undeniable. There was a tension in the air, a silent acknowledgement of the unspoken between them. Approaching her, he found the courage to speak, his voice stripped of its usual command. "Maya," he said softly, "I've been thinking about us, about what's coming." She met his gaze, eyes reflecting the complexity of their shared reality. "It's not just about us anymore," she replied. "There's a life between us now, and I need to know if you're willing to face that." The conversation that followed was unguarded and raw, a departure from the polished negotiations Adrian was accustomed to. They spoke of fears and hopes, of the responsibilities that awaited, and the possibility of forging a new path together. Adrian admitted his struggle to reconcile his public life with private truths. Maya revealed her fears of abandonment and judgment. Yet, amid the vulnerability, there was a burgeoning respect, a recognition that despite their differences, they were united by something profound. In the weeks that followed, their interactions grew more frequent and sincere. Adrian began to dismantle the walls around his heart, allowing glimpses of tenderness and openness. Maya found in him an unexpected ally, someone willing to confront the uncertainties alongside her. Their relationship was far from simple. They faced external pressures, the scrutiny of the media, the skepticism of friends and colleagues, and the relentless demands of their respective lives. But beneath it all was a commitment to honesty and shared responsibility, a fragile foundation upon which they could build. Adrian's transformation was gradual but unmistakable. He softened his corporate persona, recognizing that true strength lay not in control but in vulnerability. Maya, emboldened by his support, pursued her artistic dreams with renewed vigor, determined to create a life that embraced both passion and parenthood. Together, they navigated the complexities of their situation, learning to balance personal growth with the demands of impending parenthood. Their conversations, once fraught with tension, evolved into dialogues filled with hope and mutual understanding. Yet, the journey was not without setbacks. Doubts resurfaced, old fears threatened to unravel progress, and the weight of societal expectations loomed large. But each challenge was met with a shared resolve, a testament to the resilience they had discovered in one another. In quiet moments, away from the public eye, Adrian and Maya found solace in their connection. Their bond was a testament to the unpredictable power of human connection, a reminder that even in the most unlikely circumstances, love could emerge, heal, and transform. As the months passed, the city around them continued its relentless pace, indifferent to the intimate drama unfolding within. But for Adrian and Maya, time had become a precious ally, allowing them to confront their fears, embrace their vulnerabilities, and prepare for the future they would face together. Their story was no longer defined by difference or distance, but by the courage to embrace uncertainty and the hope that love, in all its imperfect beauty, could bridge even the widest divides. The weight of truth hung heavy in the air as Maya stepped into the sleek, glass-walled conference room, her heart pounding against the fragile armor she wore. The sterile environment felt cold and unyielding, a stark contrast to the storm of emotions roiling within her. Across the polished table sat Adrian, his expression unreadable, the carefully crafted mask of the billionaire CEO in place, but with cracks beginning to show. For weeks, the secret had lived quietly between them, a fragile thread woven from late-night calls, guarded messages, and stolen moments of honesty. But now, the moment of reckoning had arrived. Maya had summoned every ounce of courage to face the man whose world was so distant from hers, to confront the reality their night together had spawned. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke first, the words breaking free like a dam released. "Adrian, I'm pregnant." The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. Adrian's eyes widened, a flicker of disbelief crossing his features before a cascade of conflicting emotions surfaced. Shock, confusion, responsibility, and something deeper, more vulnerable. He leaned back, running a hand through his hair, the facade momentarily slipping. "This changes everything," he finally said, his voice low but steady, grappling with the enormity of the revelation. "Are you certain?" Maya nodded, the certainty in her eyes unwavering despite the fear gnawing at her. "Yes, and I needed you to know. This isn't just about me. It's about the life growing inside me. Our child." The words hung between them, a fragile bridge spanning the gulf of their disparate worlds. Adrian's mind raced, the calculated strategist battling the raw human beneath. This was not a boardroom negotiation, and the stakes were immeasurably higher. He struggled to reconcile the man he had been with the man he now faced becoming. A father, bound by invisible threads to a woman he barely knew, and a child whose future demanded reckoning. The carefully curated image of control threatened to crumble under the weight of vulnerability. Maya, sensing the turmoil, pressed on with quiet strength. "I'm not asking for promises or plans right now. I just need honesty. Will you be involved? Will you stand with me?" Adrian's gaze softened, the steel in his eyes giving way to something genuine. "I don't know what the future holds, but I won't walk away." The admission, though tentative, was a lifeline thrown across the chasm between them. It was not a vow etched in stone but a beginning, a fragile acknowledgement of shared responsibility and the complexities ahead. Their conversation deepened, peeling back layers of fear and hope. Maya spoke of the practical challenges she faced, the eviction notice, the financial instability, the uncertainty that shadowed every decision. Adrian listened, absorbing the reality that his empire was worlds apart from the fragile life Maya led. He, too, revealed his own fears, the potential fallout in the public eye, the threat to his reputation, the challenge of balancing empire with emerging fatherhood. Yet beneath the surface, a quiet determination began to take root. This was a moment that demanded more than denial or retreat. It called for courage, for a willingness to embrace the unknown. Throughout their exchange, emotions ran raw and unfiltered. There were moments of tension, accusations born of fear, tears shed in the quiet spaces between words, and the unspoken pain of two lives suddenly entwined against all odds. Yet within the vulnerability lay a growing connection, a shared understanding that transcended their differences. As the hours passed, the walls between them crumbled, replaced by a tentative bridge of trust. They spoke not as adversaries but as partners navigating the uncharted territory of impending parenthood. Adrian's usual command softened, his voice laced with a sincerity that surprised them both. "I want to be there," he said finally. "Not because I have to, but because I want to. For you, for our child." Maya's breath caught, the fragile hope she had harbored blossoming into something more tangible. "That means everything." They discussed the practicalities, medical appointments, living arrangements, the delicate balance of involvement and independence. Each decision was weighed with care, a testament to their willingness to confront the challenges head-on. Yet, as the conversation drew to a close, the reality of the road ahead settled around them like a shadow. There were no easy answers, no promises of a fairy tale resolution. Instead, there was a shared commitment to face the unknown, to navigate the complexities together, however uncertain the path. Adrian rose, extending a hand that Maya took with a mixture of relief and tentative hope. In that simple gesture lay the unspoken vow to confront the future united, to weather the storm not as isolated individuals but as a fledgling family. The meeting ended, but its impact rippled through their lives. For Adrian, it was a turning point, a crack in the armor that revealed the man beneath the mogul capable of vulnerability and change. For Maya, it was a moment of empowerment, a declaration that she would not face the future alone. Outside the building, the city buzzed with its usual indifferent energy, oblivious to the quiet revolution unfolding within its walls. For Adrian and Maya, the confrontation was only the beginning, a first step toward a future fraught with uncertainty, but buoyed by the fragile promise of shared responsibility and nascent trust. As they parted ways, both carried with them the weight of what had been revealed and the fragile hope that, despite the odds, they might find a way forward, not just as individuals bound by circumstance, but as partners willing to face whatever came next together. The news spread faster than either Adrian or Maya could have anticipated, slipping through the cracks of whispered conversations and flashing cameras until it became the relentless pulse of the city's gossip mills. Rumors swirled like a storm, fueled by scandal-hungry tabloids and social media feeds eager to devour the unexpected tale of a billionaire CEO entangled with a struggling artist. And now, a pregnancy that threatened to upend both their worlds. Adrian's carefully constructed empire, once insulated behind polished boardroom walls and legal teams, suddenly found itself vulnerable to the invasive glare of public scrutiny. Headlines screamed questions about his character, his judgment, and the implications for his company's reputation. Investors grew restless, and the media circled like vultures, dissecting every detail with ruthless precision. In the midst of this maelstrom, Adrian grappled with a new reality that no amount of strategic planning could fully contain. The man who had always commanded control found himself reacting instead of leading, his personal life now entwined with the very public image he had spent years cultivating. The pressure was suffocating, a constant reminder that vulnerability in his position was a luxury he could ill afford. Maya, too, faced the harsh glare of judgment, but from a different angle. Whispers followed her in art galleries, and cold stares accompanied her steps through the city streets. The narrative painted her as opportunistic, a woman who had dared to cross the invisible line separating wealth from poverty. Friends offered cautious support, but the isolation was palpable. She was both visible and invisible, scrutinized yet sidelined. Yet amid the judgment and whispers, Maya found unexpected allies. Members of the art community stepped forward, rallying around her with quiet solidarity. A local gallery offered to showcase her work, framing her not as a scandal, but as an artist whose talent transcended circumstance. The kindness of strangers and the steadfast support of a few close friends became a lifeline, reminding her that even in the harshest spotlight, compassion could still flicker. Adrian's inner circle reacted with a mixture of concern and calculation. His trusted advisors urged damage control, proposing public statements and media strategies designed to contain the fallout. Family members, who had always valued reputation above all else, watched with thinly veiled apprehension. Yet beneath the surface, Adrian felt a stirring resistance to simply capitulate to the pressures. He refused to let fear dictate his response. Instead, he sought to reclaim agency by confronting the situation head-on, determined to protect Maya and the child, even as the world questioned his motives. It was a gamble, a defiance of the expectations that had long governed his life. In private moments, away from prying eyes, Adrian reached out to Maya, offering reassurance and partnership. Their conversations became a refuge, a space where the chaos outside held no power. Together, they navigated the complexities of public scrutiny and personal vulnerability, finding strength in their shared resolve. Maya, despite the weight of societal judgment, began to reclaim her narrative. She refused to be defined by scandal or circumstance, embracing her identity as both an artist and a mother-to-be. Each brushstroke became an act of defiance, a declaration that her life would not be dictated by others' perceptions. Yet the challenges were unrelenting. Invitations were rescinded, whispered doubts shadowed her every move, and the financial strain of impending motherhood loomed large. The eviction notice, once a distant threat, now felt like a ticking clock counting down to an uncertain future. Adrian, too, faced battles beyond the media frenzy. Board meetings grew tense as shareholders demanded reassurances. The corporate world, unforgiving and swift to judge, questioned his capacity to lead amidst personal upheaval. Yet Adrian met these challenges with a newfound resilience, his commitment to Maya and their child anchoring him against the storm. Their relationship, forged in vulnerability and tested by scrutiny, deepened in unexpected ways. They learned to shield each other from the harshest blows, to communicate with honesty and empathy, and to find moments of grace amid the chaos. The public may have seen scandal, they saw partnership. Together, they began to craft a narrative not of disgrace but of courage and commitment. Adrian's public statements, carefully measured yet sincere, emphasized responsibility and respect. Maya's art gained new depth, reflecting the complexities of love, judgment, and resilience. The city watched, some with skepticism, others with curiosity. The story of the billionaire and the artist became a symbol, a challenge to societal expectations and a testament to the unpredictable paths of life. Despite the relentless scrutiny, Adrian and Maya held fast to their truth. They discovered that love, when rooted in honesty and mutual respect, could withstand even the harshest storms. Their journey was far from easy, marked by setbacks and sacrifices, but it was theirs to navigate together. In the quiet moments between public appearances and private fears, they dreamed of a future where their child would grow up surrounded not by scandal but by love, where their differences would be celebrated rather than judged. The challenges ahead were daunting, but so was the strength they had found in each other. As the media frenzy persisted and the business world buzzed with speculation, Adrian and Maya prepared to face whatever came next, not as isolated individuals, but as a united front forged in the crucible of adversity. Their story, once a whispered secret, had become a powerful testament to resilience, trust, and the transformative power of love in the face of judgment. The sharp sting of public scrutiny began to dull, replaced by a quieter, more intimate struggle, one that neither Adrian nor Maya had anticipated, but both knew they had to face head-on. Amid the relentless glare of the media and the whispered judgments of society, something fragile and real was growing between them. It was a tentative alliance, an uneasy truce that slowly blossomed into a partnership neither had expected, but both desperately needed. Adrian found himself navigating uncharted emotional territory. The man who had mastered control over boardrooms and billion-dollar deals was learning the language of vulnerability and compromise. In Maya's presence, his usual armor softened, revealing glimpses of a man willing to confront his fears and insecurities. It was a stark departure from the solitary figure he had been, one who had long equated strength with invulnerability. Maya, in turn, discovered a reservoir of resilience she hadn't fully acknowledged before. The fear and uncertainty that had plagued her since the pregnancy announcement began to coexist with a growing sense of confidence. Adrian's support, though cautious and sometimes awkward, became a source of strength, a reminder that she was not alone in this journey. Her art flourished in the margins of their evolving relationship, capturing the complexity of their shared reality with raw honesty. Their conversations, once sparse and tinged with apprehension, grew more frequent and open. They spoke of fears, the unknowns of parenthood, the challenges of blending two worlds so different yet now irrevocably linked. They shared hopes for their child's future, dreams that transcended social status and wealth, focusing instead on love, stability, and authenticity. In these moments, Adrian and Maya began to dismantle the walls that had long separated them. The barriers of class, expectation, and past wounds gave way to a tentative understanding, a mutual respect that defied the odds. They learned to listen, not just to each other's words, but to the silences, the unspoken fears, and the quiet hopes that lingered beneath the surface. Their partnership extended beyond emotional support into practical realities. Adrian became involved in the minutiae of Maya's life, attending doctor's appointments, helping to secure a new apartment, and navigating the complexities of impending parenthood. His presence was not always effortless. Moments of tension and misunderstanding surfaced, reminders that their worlds were still vastly different. But each challenge was met with a commitment to try, to bridge the gap with patience and honesty. Maya, too, adjusted to the growing presence of Adrian in her life. The initial hesitation gave way to acceptance, even gratitude, as she saw a man willing to step outside his comfort zone. Their late-night conversations, filled with tentative laughter and shared vulnerability, became a refuge from the chaos of their public lives. Outside their private sphere, the world watched with a mixture of skepticism and intrigue. Friends and family offered cautious support, some grappling with their own biases and preconceptions. The business world, while still wary, began to acknowledge Adrian's determination to balance personal upheaval with professional responsibility. Maya's art received renewed attention, framed now not just by talent, but by the narrative of resilience and authenticity she embodied. Together, Adrian and Maya crafted a delicate balance between their individual identities and their shared future. They negotiated boundaries and expectations, learning to celebrate their differences while building common ground. Their relationship was far from perfect, marked by moments of doubt, frustration, and fear, but it was real, grounded in honesty and a growing affection. They faced societal judgments with quiet defiance, choosing to prioritize their truth over public opinion. In doing so, they redefined what commitment meant, not as a grand declaration or a fairy tale romance, but as a daily practice of honesty, support, and mutual respect. As Maya's pregnancy progressed, their focus shifted toward preparing for the arrival of their child. They attended parenting classes together, researched childcare options, and began to envision a home filled with love and laughter rather than fear and uncertainty. The practicalities of impending parenthood became a shared responsibility, strengthening their bond. Adrian's transformation was evident to those closest to him. He softened in ways that surprised even his most trusted advisors, embracing vulnerability as a form of strength. Maya, buoyed by his support, pursued her artistic ambitions with renewed passion, her work reflecting the complexities of love, identity, and change. Their journey was a testament to the power of connection, to the idea that even the most unlikely partnerships could evolve into something meaningful when nurtured with care and authenticity. They learned that love was not a flawless ideal but a series of choices made in the face of fear and uncertainty. In quiet moments away from the spotlight, Adrian and Maya found solace in each other's company. They shared dreams and doubts, celebrated small victories, and supported one another through setbacks. Their relationship became a sanctuary, a space where they could be imperfect yet whole. Together, they faced the future with cautious hope, aware of the challenges ahead, but committed to navigating them side by side. Their story was no longer defined by scandal or difference, but by resilience, growth, and the transformative power of love. As the city moved around them, indifferent yet alive with possibility, Adrian and Maya prepared to welcome a new chapter. Not just as individuals thrust together by circumstance, but as partners building a family grounded in honesty, trust, and unwavering support. Adrian stood by the large window of his penthouse apartment, the city lights twinkling below like scattered jewels. The skyline was familiar, a map of the empire he had built, but tonight, it felt different, less a symbol of conquest and more a backdrop to the life unfolding within him. The news of Maya's pregnancy had shifted the axis of his world, pulling him toward a future he had long avoided but now couldn't imagine without. The transformation within him was subtle yet profound. No longer was he solely the ruthless businessman, the man who measured success in deals and dollars. He was becoming a father, a partner, a man willing to dismantle the walls around his heart. The journey had not been easy, filled with doubts, fears, and the weight of public scrutiny, but it had forged a new kind of strength, one rooted in vulnerability and commitment. Maya, meanwhile, navigated her own path with fierce determination. The fragile artist who once feared the uncertainty of tomorrow now embraced the changes with a quiet confidence. The pregnancy had awakened a resilience she hadn't fully known, a courage that infused her every choice. She found solace in Adrian's growing support, their partnership evolving into a shared commitment to the life they were creating together. Their relationship deepened beyond the initial whirlwind of emotions, grounded now in mutual respect and understanding. They faced the realities of impending parenthood hand in hand, doctor's visits, parenting classes, and the careful planning that accompanied the arrival of a child. Each step was a testament to their willingness to confront fears and embrace responsibility. Adrian's public declaration of support marked a turning point. In a carefully crafted statement, he acknowledged the pregnancy and affirmed his commitment to Maya and their child. The announcement sent ripples through the business world and media alike, challenging the preconceived narratives and inviting a new understanding of his character. The response was mixed. Some praised his honesty and courage, others remained skeptical. Yet Adrian stood firm, choosing transparency over concealment, authenticity over image. It was a risk that threatened his reputation but reinforced the sincerity of his intentions. Maya's world, too, shifted as she stepped into the role of mother with grace and determination. The artistic community rallied around her, offering support and recognition not just for her talent, but for her strength in the face of adversity. Her work gained new depth, reflecting the complexities of love, change, and hope. Together, Adrian and Maya crafted a new narrative, one that transcended scandal and societal expectations. They became partners not only in parenthood but in life, navigating the challenges with honesty and compassion. Their journey was marked by moments of doubt and triumph, setbacks and growth, all woven into the fabric of their evolving story. The couple prepared their home for the arrival of their child, transforming spaces with care and anticipation. The nursery was a quiet sanctuary, filled with soft light and gentle colors, a symbol of the new beginning they both cherished. Each detail was chosen with love, a tangible manifestation of their commitment to create a nurturing environment. Beyond the physical preparations, they embraced the emotional work of building a family. Late-night conversations revealed fears and hopes, dreams and uncertainties. They learned to support one another, to communicate openly, and to find strength in vulnerability. Adrian's corporate world, once all-consuming, began to make space for the personal. He delegated responsibilities, trusting others to carry the weight of the empire as he focused on what mattered most. The balance was delicate but necessary, a testament to his evolving priorities. Maya found her voice not only as an artist but as a mother-to-be. She advocated for herself and her child, refusing to be sidelined or diminished. Her confidence radiated in her work and her life, inspiring those around her. Their families, initially cautious, gradually embraced the new reality. Conversations that once skirted around the pregnancy became opportunities for connection and understanding. Bonds were forged and strengthened, weaving a support network that would sustain them in the months and years ahead. As the due date approached, anticipation intertwined with anxiety. The unknown loomed large, but so did the promise of new life and new beginnings. Adrian and Maya faced the future with a shared resolve, to prioritize truth, love, and commitment above all else. In the quiet moments before sleep, they often reflected on the journey that had brought them here, from a chance encounter to a shared life. The path had been anything but smooth, marked by challenges that tested their resilience and faith. Yet through it all, they had discovered a profound truth, that love, when nurtured with honesty and courage, could transform even the most unlikely circumstances. Their story was still unfolding, a work in progress filled with hope and imperfection. Together, they stood ready to embrace whatever came next, united by a commitment that transcended past mistakes and societal expectations. The future was uncertain, but it was theirs to shape, one choice, one moment, one act of love at a time. The months slipped by in a rhythm both unpredictable and tender, weaving together moments of joy, exhaustion, and quiet growth. Adrian and Maya found themselves navigating a delicate balance between the demands of impending parenthood and the persistent pull of their individual dreams. It was a dance of compromise and discovery, each step revealing new facets of their evolving selves. Adrian, once consumed by the relentless pace of his corporate empire, began to soften in ways that surprised even those closest to him. He delegated responsibilities with newfound trust, allowing others to manage the intricate machinery of his business, while he focused on the life growing inside Maya's womb, and the life they were preparing to nurture together. The boardroom battles persisted, but they no longer defined the contours of his existence. In the quiet moments away from the public eye, Adrian embraced vulnerability, shedding the armor of control that had long shielded him. He attended prenatal appointments with a mixture of awe and apprehension, learning the language of fatherhood alongside Maya. Their conversations deepened, shifting from logistical planning to reflections on the kind of family they hoped to build. Maya, emboldened by Adrian's support and the strength she found within herself, pursued her artistic passions with renewed fervor. Her work took on new dimensions, infused with the complexities of impending motherhood, the blend of anticipation, fear, and hope. Galleries that once hesitated now sought her pieces, drawn to the authenticity that radiated from her canvases. Yet the path was not without its challenges. The physical toll of pregnancy tested Maya's resilience, and the lingering whispers of judgment occasionally cast shadows over their progress. Financial pressures remained a quiet undercurrent, a reminder of the precariousness that had defined much of Maya's past. But together, they confronted these obstacles with determination and grace. Parenting classes became a shared journey, moments of laughter and learning that bridged their disparate worlds. They practiced diaper changes, debated baby names, and envisioned the rhythms of daily life with a child in their arms. Each experience deepened their connection, transforming tentative partnership into genuine intimacy. Adrian's transformation extended beyond the personal. His colleagues noted a shift in his leadership style, a subtle softening, a willingness to listen and collaborate that contrasted with his former ruthlessness. It was clear that fatherhood was reshaping not only his priorities but his approach to power and responsibility. Maya's confidence blossomed in tandem. She established a small studio space, a sanctuary where creativity flowed freely amidst the chaos of preparation. Her art exhibitions drew attention not merely for their aesthetic appeal but for their emotional resonance, a testament to the journey she had undertaken. Their families, once tentative in their acceptance, grew closer. Shared dinners and quiet conversations replaced awkward silences, weaving bonds that would support them in the uncertain road ahead. The blending of worlds, corporate and artistic, wealthy and struggling, became less a source of division and more a wellspring of strength. Amid the practicalities of nesting and planning, Adrian and Maya found moments of profound connection. Late-night talks revealed fears and dreams, vulnerabilities and hopes laid bare under the soft glow of lamplight. They celebrated small victories, the first flutter of the baby's heartbeat, the completed nursery, the quiet victories that punctuated their journey. The city around them continued its relentless pace, indifferent to the intimate transformation unfolding within their shared space. Yet, for Adrian and Maya, time had taken on a new meaning, a precious commodity measured not in meetings or deadlines, but in the heartbeat of their growing family. As the due date approached, anticipation mingled with anxiety. The unknown loomed, but so did the promise of new life and new beginnings. Together, they prepared to welcome their child, ready to embrace the challenges and joys of parenthood with open hearts. Their story, once marked by chance and uncertainty, had evolved into a tapestry of resilience, love, and growth. They had learned that true strength lay not in control or perfection, but in the willingness to face fears, to support one another, and to embrace change. In the quiet moments before the arrival of their child, Adrian and Maya stood together, partners, lovers, soon-to-be parents, ready to step into a future defined not by past mistakes or societal expectations, but by the choices they made every day. Their journey was far from over, the pages still unfolding with the promise of laughter, tears, and discovery. Yet, in that moment, they found peace in the knowledge that, whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, united by love, commitment, and the unbreakable bond they had forged. The soft cry of their newborn filled the room, weaving itself into the tapestry of their lives. A sound both fragile and fierce, heralding a future that neither Adrian nor Maya had dared fully imagine until this moment. In the quiet sanctuary of the hospital's softly lit nursery, they sat side by side, hands intertwined, eyes heavy with exhaustion and shimmering with a new kind of hope. Their journey had been anything but smooth, a collision of worlds, a dance of vulnerability and strength, fear and courage. But in this moment, the complexities and challenges faded into the background, replaced by the profound simplicity of new life and shared love. Adrian gazed at the tiny face cradled in Maya's arms, the weight of responsibility settling comfortably on his shoulders. The man who had once measured success in boardrooms and balance sheets now understood a deeper kind of achievement, the creation of a family, forged not by circumstance but by choice and commitment. Maya, her breath steady despite the whirlwind of emotions, felt a fierce protectiveness wash over her. The struggling artist, the woman who had once feared the future, now embodied a strength born from love and resilience. This child was a testament to the unexpected paths life could take, a symbol of hope amidst uncertainty. Their hands met over the baby's blanket, fingers entwined in a silent vow. They were no longer two disparate souls bound by chance. They were a family, united in the imperfect, beautiful reality they had forged together. The days that followed unfolded in a blur of feedings, sleepless nights, and quiet moments of wonder. Adrian learned the rhythms of fatherhood, the gentle way to soothe a crying child, the delicate balance of presence and support. Maya navigated the physical and emotional tides of new motherhood, finding strength in their partnership and in the community of loved ones who rallied around them. Together, they faced the inevitable challenges, the exhaustion, the doubts, the adjustments that stretched their patience and tested their resolve. But they also celebrated the small victories, the first smile, the tentative coos, the growing bond that filled their home with warmth. Their relationship, once defined by uncertainty and guarded hope, blossomed into a partnership rooted in shared responsibility and unwavering support. They learned that love was not a flawless ideal but a daily choice, a commitment to face fears, forgive mistakes, and grow together. Adrian found his world expanding beyond the confines of his corporate empire. Boardroom battles gave way to bedtime stories, business meetings to family dinners. The empire he had built was still a part of him, but it no longer defined his identity. Fatherhood reshaped his priorities, softening the edges of his ambition with the tenderness of newfound purpose. Maya's art flourished, infused with the depth of her experiences, the struggles, the triumphs, the complexities of love and family. Her creations spoke not only of beauty but of truth, resonating with those who saw in her work a reflection of their own journeys. Their families, once tentative in acceptance, embraced the new chapter with open hearts. Bonds grew stronger, woven through shared celebrations and quiet support. The contrasts that had once divided them faded in the light of common joy and understanding. The public's gaze, once intrusive and judgmental, softened over time. The narrative shifted from scandal to sincerity, from speculation to admiration. Adrian and Maya's story became a testament, a reminder that life's unexpected turns could lead to profound growth and transformation. In the quiet moments, as they watched their child sleep, Adrian and Maya reflected on the winding path that had brought them here. From a chance encounter to a shared life, from fear and uncertainty to love and commitment, their journey was a mosaic of resilience and hope. They understood now that true love was not perfect or easy. It was messy and complicated, filled with challenges and triumphs. It required honesty, forgiveness, and the courage to face the unknown together. Their story was not an ending but a beginning, a continuing narrative of growth, discovery, and unwavering devotion. As they embraced the future, hand in hand, they carried with them the lessons learned and the promise of a life built on truth and love. In the glow of the nursery's soft light, surrounded by the quiet hum of new life, Adrian and Maya found peace. Not in perfection, but in the imperfect, beautiful reality of their shared journey. And in that peace, they knew they were home. If you loved the story, like the video and subscribe.